Grow what you eat. I'm Naima Latif with today's 10-minute tip for how to grow your own food. We're in the process of preparing now to lay down those plants that we're going to be growing this year, but it's not a haphazard thing. You ever plan to buy a house? Well, one of the things that's important is who your neighbors are going to be. What kind of people you want to live next to. Now, you might be a young person, and so you want some people who are perhaps maybe they're the fun partying type, and so you're looking forward to living next to some lively neighbors. Or you might be older and settled, so you want some people that are more mature and quiet and peaceful. It's no right or wrong when it comes to deciding who you're going to live by. It's just a matter of who you're in harmony with. Well, believe it or not, it's the same thing with our live plants. Our fruits and vegetables also want to have neighbors that don't disturb them, that are compatible with them, that are in harmony with them. So we're planning where we're growing and what plants are going to work best together. These structures are raised beds. So we're going to remove the grass underneath and move them over to where the soil underneath will be the foundation for these plants. We're going to have some of our Grow What You Eat team members come in and help clear some of the grass so that our raised beds will be filled with organic soil on top of the soil, and this will provide a good foundation for our plants. And here we are loosening up the grass so we can get ready to plant these vegetables, and we're going to plant them in the raised beds, also along the fence. So this is what it takes. You gotta put some muscle into it. So here is Duncan Ellington showing an example of what you have to do when you decide to grow your own food. So here we are. We have cleared the spot where we're going to put our raised bed right over the soil, and then we'll add some soil, and then we'll plant our vegetables. These are mustard greens. We'll be planting these this year, and we were fortunate to be able to pick up some of these and other vegetables at a local garden sale. So in addition to our mustard greens, we also picked up some kale, some carrots, some onions, some celery, some cucumbers, some garlic, and some tomatoes. And we'll also be planting some potatoes and some cabbage and lettuce. So let's take a look at what grows best together, and we'll place these plants where they're going to go so that we can be ready when we pick up our soil.
Well, we're growing kale. So let's take a look at what grows best next to kale. Kale grows harmoniously with aromatic alums like onions, garlic, and leeks. Their strong scents deter common kale pests like aphids and cabbage loopers. Additionally, shallow rooted vegetables like beets and radishes make excellent neighbors as they maximize your garden space without competing for kale for deep nutrients. So that's important to remember. Now, let's take a look at the best companion vegetables for carrots. There's onions and leeks. These alums act as a natural pest deterrent because they grow bulbs underground and have narrow, upright greens. They do not compete with carrots for underground space or sunlight. That's important. Also, best companions are lettuce and spinach. These are excellent, fast growing neighbors. Their shallow roots will not interfere with carrot roots, and their low growing leaves act as a living mulch to help shade the soil and conserve moisture. Sounds great. All right, so now let's take a look at the best vegetables to plant next to tomatoes are basil, carrots, and lettuce. These plants mutually benefit one another by deterring pests, sharing space, and providing necessary shade during the hot summer. Well, that's an important point to remember because we're going to be looking at how the summer months affect our plants. And it's also an important thing when we take a look at how best we can keep the pests away without using pesticides. Now, plants to avoid. Do not plant kale next to other members of the Brassicaceae family, such as broccoli, cauliflower, uh, kohlrabi, or cabbage. They are highly susceptible to the same pests and diseases, increasing the risk of widespread damage. That's an important point, what to avoid. So we know we're going to be planting some cabbage, and we may even plant broccoli, but we know not to plant them next to the kale. So this is very strategic in how we're going to grow our food. So now let's make a plan based on what we've learned grows best together.
So, based on our research, we're going to have the plants in this order. On the south end of the garden, next to the fence, we'll have the potatoes, and then the cabbage, and then the celery, and then the onions, and then the mustard greens. And then in the first raised bed, we'll have the garlic next to the tomatoes, next to the cucumbers. And then in the second raised bed, we'll have the lettuce, and then the carrots, and then the kale greens. So this is how our organized food growing is going to go this year. Now that we have our raised beds placed in position, and we have our garden plot all set up, we can add the soil, and then we can place our vegetables based on what we discovered grows best next to each other. Food requires a plan. It's a process, and it requires a bit of research so that you can give the optimum opportunities for those vegetables and fruits that you're growing in your yard. I'm Naima Latif. Grow what you eat. We'll see you next time.